downloading today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. My name is John Ashley, a pseudonym of a realtor here in the great state of Arizona, here to help you with your real estate sales skills. Why? Well, it's just sort of my way to pay it forward for all the people who've given me the tips, the tricks, the things to say to get the contract signed when I needed it the most. Their only request of me, well, simply pay it forward, and this is my opportunity to you. Thank you so much for joining me today on episode number 423, the 3 advantages investor-friendly agents have. The 3 advantages investor-friendly agents have. You know, it's been my thought that if there were more investor-friendly agents, there would be a lot more money all the way around. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I know one of the chief complaints I hear from a lot of the people that I coach or from different forums that I've read is this lack of ability to find an investor-friendly agent. And that's always puzzled me. And the reason why is because there are 3 very obvious reasons, very obvious reasons, serious advantages why an agent would want to be quote-unquote investor-friendly. So if you're a wholesaler listening to this, an investor of some sort, looking for an investing agent or an investing friendly agent, then feel free to go ahead and share this episode with them, because I'm going to share with them from an investing broker's perspective. I got 19 years in this business, and I'm going to share with you my perspective looking back after all those years, 3 very powerful reasons, very good advantages why you want to be an investor-friendly agent. So if you've got a pen and you've got a piece of paper, let's go ahead and get started with point number 1. They have more time. They have more time. You see, it's my belief that if you're an investor-friendly agent, you have a lot more time. Contrary to what you may think or what you may have been told from your broker or other seasoned agents, the reality is that contrary to what you may have been told, you'll have more time if you work as an investor-friendly agent. See, the trick is you got to control it. Now, if you're an agent, you'll know this already, that we give homeowners competitive market analyses. And we give that to them all the time for free. It's not a big deal. We just do that. That's part of our repertoire. But when an investor asks you for comparables, many times we seem reluctant to. When they ask for help, contract negotiations, etc., we seem reluctant to. I always wondered why we do that. You see, if you were to do the same thing that you already do for regular homeowners, if you were to do the same thing and extend the same types of services to investors, what kind of result would you get? When you think about it, they're going to come across a lot of people in their marketing, especially if they're wholesalers, who are not going to want their offer. That's just the way it is. And they're not really always that great at negotiating. And so many times these people will just simply want a full price offer or something like that might be more of a listing. So you can exchange those leads that there's going to be worthless to a wholesaler for market analysis, assistance with contracts, advice, things like that, but not in a fiduciary sense. When you think about it, there's no reason to consider them as competitors. They're more of your eyes and ears in the market. They're certainly not competitors. I mean, they're not in the same market as you. As a listing agent, if you're out there trying to take a lot of listings, they're certainly not trying to get that market. Chances are you're not trying to go out and find an as-is sale. They don't have the same kind of time as you do. If you're an agent, particularly an agent who invests, the average wholesaler, they don't have the same kind of time that you do. They don't have the ability to commit the hours that you do. They certainly don't have the same access. The multiple listings service, the brokers in your marketplace, the pocket listings. They don't have that kind of market knowledge. They certainly don't have the access. And they don't always have the same kind of work ethic. I'm not saying that wholesalers are lazy, but many times, they have, a backup job. Whereas if you're in real estate and you're a real estate agent, and this is the only thing you do, you got to hustle. So I'm simply saying that you'll want to add them to your center of influence to help control your time with them. See, that's the key. Most people, when they start working with investors, devote entirely too much time with them. They treat them the same way that they would a residential buyer. And that's why you have so many problems. If they want to buy a home, you treat them just like you would your center of influence. You use an exclusive buyer-broker agreement with a 7-day time period. That eliminates all the tire kickers. Just think about it. If they are a wholesaler who's not going to be serious, or if they're an investor who's not going to be serious, and they want you to commit 168 hours of your week to find the deal of the century for them, and they're not willing to commit to you on a piece of paper that, if you find it, they'll buy it through you, well, they're probably not a very good customer to work with, to be quite honest with you. Honestly, if you can't find them something in 168 hours, then you've either misunderstood their need or they're not a lead. If they won't take action in 7 days, then you've got to re-examine their requirements. The key to working with investors is controlling your time. And as an investing agent, you need to recognize that you're unusual. You're a unique thing. You are an investor-friendly agent in a market where there are very, very few of them. You can't get this unique advantage over other realtors unless you develop a competitive edge. Now, every other realtor in your town is offering out free HUD lists, free repos, free things like that to try and attract buyer clients. That's okay, whatever. If you want to do that, that's, I would say, average. But if you want to get above average results, because you don't want to waste a lot of time, or maybe you just want to attract the best of the best. If you want to get above average results, you got to do something better than everybody else does. Instead of giving out a free HUD list or, free whatever list, why not consider having, the hottest, the top 5 hottest properties list and update it weekly? Every single week, you go through your market and you figure out what are the top 5 hottest deals, either on the market or off the market. The top 5 hot, they are not going to be there next week, that kind of hot. If you think that they're going to be here next week, then they're not hot. That's why I said 5. If you found 5 properties that are not going to be here next week, and they were either on MLS or they were off MLS. And I don't mean the residential resale stuff, the stuff that's remodeled, the stuff that's nice. I mean the stuff that's the dog, the rotten of the rotten, the worst of the worst, the grunge, the unwanted, the island of misfit toys kind of properties, right? When you find 5 of those, you have a powerful list, a huge competitive advantage over other realtors in your marketplace, because everybody wants a deal. And because, they know that it's not going to be there next week, because through experience they'll discover that, they'll be very, very responsive if they're an investor. And the good news about that is, because you have that list, you have the ability to generate a lot of buyers that are going to be very responsive to you. And because of that, you'll have more time, because you'll be able to qualify the people that you'll want to work with instead of being forced with what you have. If you develop that property list, you're going to have more time. And if you have more time, then the second advantage of being an investor-friendly agent is that you have more money. You have more money. Point number 2, working with investors makes you more money. Listen, in this internet world, there is more than Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, etc. Okay, that's social media. Meaning that it's social, meaning that it's just like a conversation in a bar. You talk about it tonight, you forget about it tomorrow. But there are forums throughout the internet, like Bigger Pockets or Active Rain, that have enormous forums where investors and agents interact. Now, the good news about these forums, particularly Bigger Pockets, is that they will suggest similar topics or similar answers. So, for example, if somebody writes down, how long does it take to sell a home for sale by owner, blah, 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 in Bigger Pockets or whatever forum. And if you answer the question, because you're a professional, you know how to answer certain questions, that builds credibility and authority. And the good news is, when you do that, it's going to be long lasting. And so when somebody writes a question like that in the future, well, guess what? They're going to see you there. You're going to start to attract, local investors in your area that are current investors. They're going to want to hook up with you and meet up and say, hey, what's going on, and talk and maybe do some deals together. But you're also going to attract newer ones who are going to read your posts and your responses in the future. Listen, if you're an investor-friendly agent, especially if you invest on your own, if you're answering these posts, answering these questions, and helping people out throughout these blog posts and Facebook and all these places, it starts to add up. You help educate them to the realities of your market. When you start thinking about these investors, many times if they're newer, as an agent, you're frustrated because they keep coming in with all these crazy lowball offers. We have to help educate them as to the reality of the market in certain circumstances. And how you do that is through time, creating this education trail, so to speak, over time. It makes you more money because it starts to attract investors to you 24/7. You would be shocked to see how many people are reading something I wrote at 1 in the morning or 4 a.m. or whatever when I'm sleeping. Now that you start to get these people who are inquiring about whatever it is you're writing about, you can qualify them. Listen, when you generate, you're not going to have to tolerate. And as the word spreads that you're an investor-friendly agent, okay, aided by your assistants, you kind of help spread the word on these different forums and through Facebook, and you're letting people know you're here to help and things like that. Maybe you've decided to take it one step further and hold a meetup group, where you've decided to go ahead and hold an actual, like a seminar for investors that was informational in nature. I mean, you're holding buyer seminars, home seller seminars all the time anyway. Why not hold an investor seminar? As an investing agent, if I want to get other private lenders or investors or people like that in my circle, my center of influence, a meetup group is a great way to do that. As an investing agent, you want to start spreading that word that you're an investor-friendly agent. Get a list, of absentee owners or perhaps multifamily owners, from your title company, a phone list. Start calling through that list. Tell them that you're calling everybody who owns property in that county, who owns multiple properties, that you're planning on buying. Have you thought about selling? They're going to say, well, no, we hadn't really thought about selling. Say, okay, well, that's no problem. Well, listen, do you want me to let you know if anybody else down this list wants to sell and I don't want to buy it? Do you want me to let you know? Oh, yeah, we buy all the time. Great. Now you got yourself another buyer lead for free. Maybe you'll find yourself a seller lead. You'll never really know. But the good news is your potential for nationwide referrals increases. I mean, think about it. You got these blogs everywhere. You got posts answered on Bigger Pockets or Active Rain. When you've got that stuff going on, you got people who will have issues and problems and needs in other states, which leads us to referrals. When you get those referrals, that's awesome. And the good news about referrals is that leads us to point number 3. Investor clients mean more security. Not only do you have more time because they're out there in the marketplace looking around for you anyway, they've got, their own marketing that they're running, and then 24/7 they're doing their thing, and they know that, hey, look, if I have a problem, I can go to John and he's going to hook me up with some comps or some contracts or some help or whatever, and then they're going to come back to me, and they're going to say, well, gosh, we got this lead and we don't know what to do with it. And now I got it, right? And they're willing to work with me. Great. Maybe it's a listing, maybe it's a wholesale deal, who knows? But you've got that, and which, obviously gives you more time because you don't have to go out and do it so much. The second thing we talked about, of course, was making more money. Why? Because you don't have to go out and work so much. You get exposure in other areas, in blog forums, as an investor-friendly agent. The word gets out, people start coming to you. And because of that, now we're on that third point, more security. As a realtor, many times you have to be forced to make tough choices. I mean, that's just the way it is. You want to help people, but you always have to consider the very real cost of time. So when you think about it, if you're working with a first-time home buyer, if they get cold feet, or mom and dad say no, or their witch doctor from Cambodia says not to close during a certain moon phase, I actually had that happen to me. Believe it or not, that's a real story. When you think about it, and you have investor clients in your database, right, that are legitimate, you always have a deal. Take a long-term view. I mean, looking back 19 years after all the transactions, all the deals I've ever done, I just wish I had taken better records. Maybe you're on the front end of your career. And I'm at 19 years, part of mine, so I'm probably about halfway through. And I'm telling you, if you're new, take better records. Because this becomes your database that you can sell when you retire. If you're an agent, think about your database. What a powerful database that is. If you've got investors that you met when you were younger, and over time, you kind of grew them up. You started with newer investors when they were young, help them buy their first place or whatever, and now over time, you've grew up. Think about how powerful that business has become. And now, when it's time for you to switch the reins over to somebody you can trust, that has value. And it has security for your future. Those are some 3 powerful reasons why. As an agent, I know that your knee-jerk reaction is to not work with wholesalers. I totally get it. Trust me. As a broker, investor, realtor, I understand. However, it's my belief that if you add this demographic to your center of influence in exchange for their leads, you'll have more time, you'll make more money, especially through referrals, and you'll have security in knowing that you have a powerful, responsive database. Have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.